You are listening to Offensive Lines with Marlon and Boyd. Small stakes NFL gambling for the average fan.
Welcome to the off season. I'm Marlon.
I'm Boyd.
And no football, but we're still here. It's a nightmare for many people.
Like it or not.
I've got a bit of football, post-football depression going on. Since the Super Bowl, I guess I've been super busy, but I don't know what's going on in this crazy world of football right now. It will
There's not
soon go to the usual string of arrests, and
Well, that's already happened.
yeah.
Yeah, Daquan Bowers got arrested for carrying a gun through an airport. Tampa Bay Bucks defensive lineman.
Yeah, I
Faces
read
up
that on
to-
our website.
There's a couple of, well, they said, 6 months I read today, average, but it's the same law Plaxico Burress got 2 years for, so you never know. And he was kind of a iffy character dude coming out in the draft. It's kind of why he fell to Tampa, but
Bringing a gun to an airport, how do you think that's gonna go? You know, really. I can understand even, you've got a weapon under the seat of your car. I mean, maybe your lifestyle is fucked up enough that makes sense. But taking a gun to an airport, I don't do it in Grand Theft Auto for the most part, security's going to be
it's a
tighter
little
at the
strange, but
airport.
yeah, it's not like he's an up-and-coming rapper driving down the Las Vegas Strip.
Oh,
Did you hear that story?
I don't know the details, but I heard
Another rapper
rumors.
shootout in Vegas. Well, you kind of had to know what group was involved in the shooting, but it was some rapper called Kenny Clutch. But
And
I
was he
digress.
clutch? Or, 5
Yeah.
died?
3.
3, okay.
Kenny Clutch and 2 innocent people in a cab. Which is kind of scary because I'm going to Vegas in 2 months, but oh well.
Well, you can
I'll
get hit
live,
by
hopefully.
a bus anywhere.
That's what I said to my wife today. So I'll just still get drunk and gamble and do stupid shit, but that's okay. So you were saying you had a football hangover? I haven't really, because I've kind of melded right into hockey. That hockey came back. It's kind of, I still follow the football, but it's not having live sports on until 10, 11 o'clock at night again during the week.
Yeah,
So that's kept
fair
me
enough.
going.
Well, I'm pretty sports free right now. I'm reading a bit about the Mets coming up, and boy, that looks good. I'm just kind of sports free right now. I'll follow some hockey scores, but I haven't watched a game yet this year.
Oh, and one thing I want to mention for our podcast in a couple of weeks, I tried to finish the book on Spygate that a fan wrote, and I just couldn't get it done for this podcast, but we will discuss that. That will be our topic in 2 weeks.
I'm looking forward to that.
I have some very strong opinions, and I don't want to give it away tonight. But it's going to be a good discussion. Marlon and I have touched on it a little off air, and I think it might get a little heated, so you might want to stay tuned for that. Those tend to be our best podcasts when we're not agreeing on everything. So,
and I don't think we'll agree on that one.
Nope.
But, hey.
So you have to tune in a couple of weeks. That one's going to be a good one.
Okay.
I'm reading it and I'm thinking of stuff already, and I'm mad at myself that I didn't have it done. I just didn't have time.
Oh, bring your
I'm
notes.
through
Bring your notes.
6
This week wasn't a good week for it anyway, so sharpen the knives. We'll come at each other next week or 2 weeks from now.
Yeah.
All right, so You had something you really wanted to talk about tonight.
Yeah, HGH and the lack of testing, or even agreeing on what kind of test the NFL should run. Now, it was tentatively agreed upon during the last CBA negotiations. They were just going to work out the details. Well, it's been almost 2 years. There's nothing in place. And the part that really pisses me off the most is now the players are throwing out the trust card. We don't trust the owners. Well, you know what? This shit, the owners aren't doing the testing. Pick an independent lab and have them do it. And if you get caught, they're worried about the appeals process and all this other shit. But in my opinion, the players don't want it because it would destroy the fucking league. That's their baseball steroid scandal, is this fucking HGH. The players won't agree to it. They'll keep dragging their feet just like baseball did. Because the baseball union did the same fucking thing about steroid testing. It just kept dragging their feet. No, it's not fair, and it's invasion of privacy and all this other garbage. And to be honest, I don't care. They could fucking inject the grossest amount of substances into their own bodies that they want. But then don't try and tell me you're clean. Unless you're going to be clean and test for everything that's out there to test.
Well, and that's been your stance for a long time. You really don't care about them using PEDs. That's their decision. That's what they want to do, but don't have it both ways. Don't say that God healed you so you could play in the Super Bowl when you're sticking a needle in your ass. I mean, if you're sticking a needle in your ass and it gets you on the field, you're fine with that, right? That's...
Yes, I can...
And you're swaying me over to that argument slowly.
Don't sell me the bullshit that you're the strictest drug testing in pro sports when you won't sign up for this. This should be a no-brainer. If you're worried about player safety like the union says they are, which they're not either, DeMaurice Smith gets paid by the players. So he's going to do everything he can to give them what the players want. And he's going to just do whatever. He doesn't, as long as the checks are rolling in, he doesn't care what they're shooting into their body. And like, I'm not even sure how often do they test in the off season in the NFL?
Well, I'm not sure. I can't remember which Titan it was who bragged to the cop he knew when the tests were coming 4 weeks in advance. For marijuana, he was pulled over in a traffic stop.
It's probably Kenny Britt.
No, it was the guy who fell out of the back of the half ton.
It wasn't a Titan, that was Bengal.
Oh, right. Okay, my mistake. But no, you're
remember
you're
his
right.
name off the top of my head.
I'm just, this whole we don't trust the owners or the appeal process, this is another example of how fucked up Goodell has made things. Because he screwed things up so wildly with Bountygate and the unilateral appeal process and all of that. Now this is a card the players feel they can play.
No, it's not though. They gave
no.
away.
I'm not saying it's valid, but that is what has created this argument that they don't trust the owners. It's once again,
it's
in a real sense, it has nothing to do with it, but that's what's created this situation.
No, it's fucking bullshit smokescreen. Because they signed that away in the CBA. They gave Goodell the power in the previous CBA because they have to approve that stuff. When they implemented that after that one weekend when they had all those hits, the Players Association had to sign off on that. And all the players came out publicly and said, yes, we want this. We got to be safe. We want to protect ourselves. So, yeah, whatever the commissioner wants to do, they signed off on all that shit. And then they did it again 2 years later during the CBA to get a few extra dollars. So don't try and fucking tell us now that you don't trust anybody because of the suspensions he hands out. You gave him carte blanche to fucking go do it. It's bullshit.
It is bullshit. I
And
don't disagree.
And the league isn't going to own the lab that fucking does the testing on it. Do you think the league wants to actually catch these guys? It's all a PR fucking spin from both of them. The league doesn't. Do you think the league wants?
The league absolutely doesn't want. That was going to be my next point. You hit my next point right on the head there. It is in no one's benefit for it to be revealed the level of performance-enhancing drugs in any sport. It's no one's benefit.
You have to have a touch of Down syndrome to not think that most guys in the NFL are using something. They're too big and too fast, and you only see muscles like that on a guy that uses something. And there's a guy in baseball who's supposed to be the next big thing, came into training camp with 20 pounds of muscle on. And my first thought was, he's using something. Because you can't put on 20 pounds of muscle in an off season by eating your Wheaties and lifting fucking weights and eating amino acids. It doesn't fucking happen.
Yeah, not after you're 20 for fucking sure.
Well, he is 20, but it doesn't happen. We learned that from the baseball scandal before. Now, I know it's the most popular sport, the fans don't care. I don't care. I just hate that the players in the league tell me that it's the strictest drug testing in sports in North America, blah, blah, fucking blah. We don't have a drug problem. Well, you do, because all you're testing for is steroids. And as Barry Bonds proved, the steroid cheats are fucking 10 times ahead. And they will be, even once they get HGH testing, there'll just be something else developed to give them an edge. But that's fine. But don't try and tell me you're clean. Just open it up then. Nobody cares. With football would be the easy one to do it. Just open it up. Who cares? Nobody cares. Guys kill people. The Cowboys have the guy on the sideline that just killed a guy driving drunk.
But some of steroids are unfair because they take away the dream of the father who's looking at his son. Oh, he could play, but he doesn't want him shooting this. Well, the fact is you're not making this league in all likelihood unless you're using some sort of extreme PED. And then the question becomes, what's an acceptable performance-enhancing drug? Dietary supplements that increase protein, build muscle mass, somehow those are acceptable, many of them.
Or Toradol for a knee.
Yep.
Or anything, even like painkillers.
To use Simmons' example, let's take the tendon out of cadaver. I remember Jimmy Mack, the first zombie quarterback I saw.
Yeah.
At what point is something acceptable and at what point is it unacceptable?
And how do you determine it? Like deer antler spray's illegal, but I can get shot up with 6 painkillers from the team doc just so I can get out on the field for a championship game.
Yeah.
Or what things are like cortisone? They get shot up with that all the time. And that's just to allow them to play. And that's why they'll take steroids and HGH, health with recovery. It's been proven. Health with recovery and just makes you stronger. Well, in a sport like that, where they say even take it, the guys that have been caught taking this stuff, like it's like Wednesday when you're young enough till you start feeling normal. And then when you're in your 30s, it's like that's why these guys retire. They don't quit loving the game. Their body they don't recover till like Saturday, and then they're playing a game on Sunday.
Well, yeah, exactly. It's the recovery time because a lot of the mid-30s guys, they can peak just as well as they did 10 years earlier for one game. But they cannot do 16 games in a row, and that's part of sports. It's endurance, right? And that's
Yeah.
as much as just pure strength and speed. I think people have a misconception that these PEDs are simply about strength and speed. No, I think even more so they're about recovery.
Well, it depends
The
when you
ability
take
to
them.
long-term endure. But I think that's what many of the people are using them for.
Yeah.
It's the fountain
Well,
of youth, less or more so than it is the fountain of strength.
but how come it takes in football, like in baseball now, if there was a guy 37 putting up humongous numbers, you're obviously go, oh, he's using something because he can't do it at 37.
But we didn't
Ray
do
Lewis,
that in the 90s.
no, but
I
that's
mean,
because
there were
everybody.
guys who were coming out at the age of 37 and suddenly they were going 30-30. Yeah. Really?
No, I know, and I was one of the stupid ones saying, well, look at Sosa when he was 20, and look at when he was 32. If you lifted weights for 12 years, you could get that big. But I'm not that stupid anymore.
Yeah, that
And
was.
Ray Lewis, it's like a middle linebacker at 37. I don't recall Mike Singletary at 37 being great like he was when he was 30.
Well, even Junior Seau at 37 was a shadow of what he was at 30.
Yeah, he was situational linebacker. Ray Lewis tears a tricep and is coming back getting 17 tackles in a game.
At 20
So,
below. Now, admittedly, the only thing I'll say about that is Ray Lewis did nothing for the next two, so, you know,
yeah.
that makes the argument he used up what was in the tank there. But, no, I agree with you totally, you know that. But,
So, either the players just sign off.
well, what I would like to see is some sort of cohesive vision of what is acceptable and why. I mean, I think this debate has to go larger than sport.
Well, I hate to say this because getting the government involved in anything is usually a bad idea. But it's going to have to be across the board, just government imposed, to get anybody to agree on fucking anything. Just
Yeah,
for
but, I mean, supposedly the Olympics are so hard. I mean, now we've got the Blade Runner with crates of testosterone in his home shooting his girlfriend.
allegedly, they don't know. They haven't tested it yet, and the cops even said they weren't sure. They just said that.
Oh, okay.
So,
But in any case,
See,
anyone
I
who
would
thinks
doubt-
the Olympic sports,
no, they're
I mean,
all.
Lance Armstrong as well, I've got no problem. I personally think the sport of cycle racing is everyone is corrupt. How many years with the highest possible scrutiny and testing, how many years did Lance Armstrong get away with it?
Well, his whole career.
You know, defeating this problem is not possible. But I think the debate has to come up as to what is acceptable to do to your body and what is unacceptable. And then at least it can be focused. When it's this broad-based,
Yeah, but
we might as well just say it's the all-drug sports thing. And
Well,
you
I have no
swayed
problem.
me to the opinion that really, yeah, I think I just have to accept it. Oh, it hurts people in the long run. Well, so do many things. I mean, talk to a rigger who did 10 years in the north of Alberta working that. His body didn't suffer.
Oh, for sure.
You know, his lifespan and his risk, it was probably higher than any NFL player. You know, the risks that were put on and the long-term degradation to his body. You know, I think the debate has to go beyond sport.
No, but why? The media is as much to blame for this as anybody. They keep inflaming this when the fans don't really give a shit. You'll find the one guy on the street, then they'll interview him, and it'll be like, oh yeah, I wouldn't watch if it comes out they were 70% were using drugs or whatever. And I call bullshit on that. because we've known in baseball for like 15 years.
That
Football,
was the
we've
ripping
known.
of the innocence, really, when it became that blatant as to what happened in baseball, and we had to all look at ourselves and go,
Yeah, but
we were
nobody stopped
fucking
watching.
morons.
Yeah, but nobody stopped watching. These people that get on the moral high ground and say, and I want to say something about that book right now, but the
Give us
the
a
people that
tease.
get
Come on.
the people that get on the moral high ground and think that I'm not going to watch and people are going to run away from the sport and not watch it and the ratings are going to drop and the sponsors are going to fall away. Every sports league running right now just keeps going up in value and they keep making more and more money every year. So you can't tell me on one hand that, oh, the drugs are bad for the sport. When people don't give a shit, they just go in with the notion like I have that, okay, there might be one or two guys not using that are exceptional athletes, but the majority are using. You can't have 330-pound offensive linemen running low 540s.
Yeah, or
and pulling out
some
on
of
the
them were running 4.9s too. I mean, your low fives is being generous.
They pull out on sweeps now and lead the running back, and they're getting to the edge quicker than the linebackers, and they're 330 pounds.
Well, and even conceptually, let's think about it. Something, particularly in the NFL as a sport, but in most sports, contact sports, is the notion of sacrifice. So they're saying, oh, well, your life is going to be terrible when you're 50. That is something that in many ways was admired. You sacrificed your body for what you were doing when you were young. So I think that has to be acknowledged. I mean, people make decisions to take risky jobs all the time. Let's just recognize that sports is a risky job, and you're going to pay for it when you're older.
Okay,
That's your decision. That's personal choice on the person.
Okay, well, if you want to look at it another way of what people will do to gain an edge when there's money involved and something that they want, when Jay Leno was trying to get the Tonight Show when Carson was stepping down, he hid in a fucking closet in the meeting room where the executives met so he could find out what was happening to get the job over Letterman, to find out where it stood, to try and gain an edge. So you don't think these guys, when there's millions and millions of dollars at stake every year, and you can be cut in an instant when the play drops off with no guaranteed contract, they're not going to do whatever they can to hang on for as long as they can? And I don't mean to throw this out there to be like an asshole, but a lot of these guys got like 4 kids.
Like an asshole? You are an asshole.
Well, okay. But they have multiple, like Ray Lewis has 4 kids. Or 6 kids from 4 different women, or something like that. Well, what does he pay? The child support payments these guys are paying out, like fucking Lewis, I think, is paying out $250,000 a month.
But I think that's drifting a little astray.
No, but where are you getting that kind of money? How many of the guys get actual analyst jobs or commentator jobs like Ray Lewis is going to get? When their career's done, my point is it's done. And you have other commitments, not just, you have commitments like every other person, only it's exponentially larger because of what you made as a player. But
Well,
there's
yeah,
a
your
finite
commitments
number
are
of
usually
years.
based on what you made at that time.
Well, even just your
So
lifestyle.
if you leave, let's talk minimum salary, $650,000 a year. Even if you find a really good job or something for $100K a year, your payments don't drop.
No, but that's where these guys go broke. It's not so much that they blow it all when they go or before they go, but they can't slide the lifestyle back to go back to somebody that can live on $250,000 a year when you've been living on $6 million a year?
Well, okay, I want to take this in a slightly different direction here, but I don't think these retro lawsuits have a great deal of validity in most cases.
I don't think they have hope in hell.
I do, well, they might win, but honestly, did you believe that football wasn't doing damage to you? Back then, you thought this was safe and that you would be a spry and lively 65 after what you did for a living? Like, come on.
Well, that's the thing. They didn't see all these old timers coming to the hall, but that's the thing. The young guys don't see the old guys.
Well, no,
it's not going to happen to them.
Young
it's not
guys
going to
will
happen
trade
to us.
their time and their body for money.
But they
and
think
then
it's
unfortunately they get old and they don't have their body and they don't have the money and they're just angry about it. But their eyes were as open as any 22-year-old's eyes were at that time.
Well, no,
they were going to be tougher. They were going to hit harder. And they made that decision.
And let's be honest, the players set the culture of playing with a ding. I'm not going to let my team down. There's that internal pressure from your teammates more so than I think the organization itself.
If the coach was that powerful, none of them would have impregnated women or gotten into trouble with the law because they would have listened to the coaches if the coaches were that powerful. Right? Yeah. If they were saying, oh, we only listen to the coaches, well then why did you get into trouble off the field? Didn't the coach tell you not to do that?
Yeah, didn't you have a curfew? How many books have you read where guys, oh yeah, we snuck out at training camp, we snuck out during the Super Bowl, we snuck out on the road trips and all this other shit? It's the same thing been going on. It's the lore of sport. And what you were referring to before about what's acceptable and what's not, and how do we reconcile that? Well, how do you reconcile all the other cheating that goes on in sports? Where does that fall into the lines of performance-enhancing drugs? Like guys used to spray their frickin' jerseys with Pam, so they couldn't grab them.
Well,
like
I'll
that's
use a
cheating.
Quote from the late Al Davis. All he was looking for was his fair advantage, which I still think is one of the greatest quotes of all time.
But it makes perfect sense. That's what they're all looking for. If I'm one of the top 40 or 50 linebackers, what would I do to get Ray Lewis money? Or if I'm a special teamer and I want to get paid starter money, what am I going to do?
Well, yeah, and I'll cite a current player. He was formerly with the Chargers, and he was with the Texans last year, Dobbins. He's an undersized, pretty instinctive, good middle linebacker. What would he do to become a great middle linebacker? He's never going to get there because of his size. But if he could put on 25 pounds of muscle and not lose any speed, and his brain still works, why wouldn't he do it? It's almost in like a true capitalist system. He would almost be making a true mistake not to take the enhancers that would take him to the next level.
Yeah, if you can increase your salary by 10 million, it's like fucking hitting the Powerball lottery.
Yeah.
So who's not trying to swing an edge there? It's human nature. I don't care. You can try and make it as clean as you want and test everything. The guys are still going to try and get around it. That's why they keep getting caught. It's human nature. The players know the risks by now. And the whole concussion thing, why I don't think the players are going to win, what are the guys from the 70s using as an argument? That there was no concussion testing.
Well,
they couldn't go to their own doctor and get a fucking concussion test and anybody tell them what the fuck was going on back then.
Talk to a coal miner about job security.
Well, anybody. The guys that built the railroad in Canada.
Yeah.
Built
Railroad
the highway.
in North America. I mean, yeah.
Soldiers, fucking soldiers. What? They
Yeah.
know the risk. They still sign up. So football players are different? Give me a break.
And again, honestly, tell me that at 21, these guys would be told that there would be problems when they were 50. They would say, well, I intend to die young.
Or
Leave a beautiful corpse. It's like a rock star. Like,
well,
why don't rock stars sue the record labels? Why doesn't Axl Rose sue Geffen Records for the fact that, okay, you encouraged me to do drugs because when I was completely smacked out, I made some amazing fucking records.
See, here's the difference. But the difference between athletes and musicians is musicians still keep making money.
Yeah, they get a residual.
30 years after.
They get a residual, but okay, let me go to something.
But I wanted to
which has more failure than that. Like writers. I mean, Hemingway drank, so a generation of writers drank.
Yeah.
Was the alcohol a performance-enhancing drug for Hemingway's writing? Yeah.
Yeah, it can open up a lot. I'm not against
led to his alcoholic death. There was risk there. I mean, this fits your argument of PEDs. It's people are going to do what they think will get them to that place. Heroin and Charlie Parker. Millions of musicians did that because they thought it would make them sound like him. It's lunacy, but that is clearly a performance-enhancing drug.
Well,
why is it only athletes that somehow should perform without any of these?
We don't care if Stallone goes on TV and says, "Oh yeah, I was taking steroids before the Rocky movies, before Rambo." Charlie Sheen admitted to taking them before Major League. Upped his fastball from 74 to the mid 80s to make it more realistic for the movie.
Yeah.
Nobody gives a shit. Charlie Sheen, Lindsay Lohan fucking getting jacked up on
Smack. Being dedicated to his craft, right?
So is this.
Well,
so
exactly.
Is football.
Why are athletes maybe in our society among the most coddled from an early age? Because
not even coddled. No, scrutinized.
No, but the great athletes are coddled from an early age more so than the great actors, the great writers, right? Because their talent can be recognized early.
Yeah, but you get that.
But somehow they are expected to be pure of heart and body, whereas every other endeavor, from business through art, through whatever, you are allowed to use whatever chemical you can legally get to enhance yourself. Why are athletes held to a higher standard on this shit?
That's what I've never understood. I've been arguing about that for fucking 30 years. Because the casual fan always says, "Oh, these guys are overpaid. Why are they getting paid? So I'd play for free," and all this other garbage. And yet, nobody bitches about a Tom Cruise or a Jerry.
Let's talk about some HGH action in the entertainment industry.
Oh,
I was watching morning TV before I went to work today. Tim McGraw at 40 looks like a buff 22.
He doesn't. I can't even recognize. I didn't even recognize him. I was watching him on Off the Record. Watching him on Off the Record didn't even look like Tim McGraw. Like, if you go back and watch the movie Friday Night Lights and look at him now, he looks better now. That was 10 years ago. But back to my argument.
In every other industry, I just want to say, performance-enhancing drugs, and yes, they lead some people to their death and destruction. Like everything else.
Yeah.
Like everything else to anybody, some people will be destroyed by them. But every other world at least allows the use of them and the individual to fail or succeed, with the exception of Hunter Thompson. Right?
Well, he's
Great
famous
writer.
for writing about drugs. And his exploits well on drugs. He's like almost idolized for it. Revered.
And I've read his writing before drugs and after drugs. And yeah, there was only one sweet spot really in there, and it ended poorly. But still allowed to use them.
But that, you know what? Writers are a lot like musicians. They'll hit home runs for a while, and then it's like, oh, well, it's not quite as good as the last piece or last album or last movie, or it's like you get in a zone for a little while and then it's gone.
It's funny you said that writers are a lot like musicians. They hit home runs for a while. I think you made the comparison to athletes there too.
Yeah, it's the same thing. They have a prime. Some guys get it later in writing and music than others, and some guys get it earlier. Just like in sports, some guys come in at 18 and are Sidney Crosby, and some guys it takes 2 or 3 years before they hit their stride. There's no set rule of how you're gonna mature and turn into what you're gonna turn into in your chosen profession. There just isn't.
But again, for whatever reason, our culture seems to believe that athletes should be pure.
And
whereas they don't ask that from any other aspect of life.
No, my argument had always been, as I was talking about average fan, casual fan, that thinks athletes are overpaid, but they'll spend $200 to go see the Rolling Stones, or they don't care that a bank president's making $20 million, and they don't bitch about any of that. But an athlete that puts his body on the line and his health isn't worth it. Oh, they're all overpaid. They should only be making a couple million a year.
I'd play that for free.
Yeah. And I'm like...
Which, by the way, I fucking hate that argument.
With the money generated, you should be paid on the money that is generated from your performance. Like, there's a reason there's certain actors get $20 million and some get $300,000 for doing a role. Because those are the ones that put asses in the seats. It's the same reason Jerome McGinley makes $7 million and Sidney Crosby makes $8 million, and Ovechkin and Brady and Manning and all these guys.
Ultimately, by the way, these guys could be using whatever you want. At a certain level, there's fucking talent. The great ones, yes, I mean, yeah, if they augment it, no one ever went from piece of shit to Hall of Famer through drugs. Barry Bonds was arguably the greatest baseball player who ever lived before the fucking drugs.
No, and here's the problem I have, the hypocrisy with the media, like I mentioned before. How they drive this fucking story, and they can spin it however they want. Read something on Babe Ruth. Read something on Mickey Mantle. The fucking story, Babe Ruth was running through train cars drunk and naked, chasing after women. Or Mickey Mantle drunk in New York, and he'd show up to the ballpark and hit 2 home runs hungover. They fucking make myths out of these guys. But nowadays, that's not allowed. You can't be drunk at a bar if you're a pro athlete. It's fucking on every website, even ours. We fucking make fun of it. But I don't care. I'm just making fun of it.
Yeah, I mean, we have our own little contradictions, but
I'm not making a commentary on what they're doing. I try and put a humorous spin on it, or we do. And it's not because I could care less. If you put a camera on me when I was 23, I wouldn't want people watching it. But yet the guys in the past were revered for it, and now they're reviled for it. So we have to, as a sports culture, we have to decide what it is we want. We drive this. It's nothing else. If we don't watch and spend our hard-earned money on it, they're arguing over nothing because the leagues will go away. It's
Yep.
it's more up to us. We don't put enough pressure on the media because the media just wants a story. You need something to get web clicks because you're not selling magazines. So they're basically trolling for web clicks and TV coverage and what we're watching. Like everybody knows Tim Tebow was a shitty quarterback, but you couldn't turn on the sports TV. Any show had a Tebow story on it when he was starting for Denver, and he was shit. Their defense did more to win those games than he did, yet it was all Tebow. Well, that's because that's what we watched. That's what we clicked on. That's what they just sell us what we fucking buy. And they're gonna,
And we can go far even on that.
yeah. Fuck, he went through painkillers.
People are going, oh, we're so sick of him, but that's what gets the most attention.
Yes, everybody would phone in to the radio shows or in the forums on email underneath the column. I'm fucking sick of Favre. Why do you keep talking about him? Because the numbers show when we talk about Favre, everything goes up. They're not stupid. And
yeah, but on the other hand, a media with more courage to address other things might find that people will follow that too. There's a certain aspect of laziness and cowardice in the media.
No, it's not. No,
that leads to it.
It's not that. It's the whole model has shifted because they're not about.
Well, yeah, the model has shifted from laziness and cowardice.
No. It's just profit driven. Everything is profit. It's not about getting the story right. It's about what's going to drive the profit. I don't listen to ESPN.
I don't listen to sports radio.
I just got over. I'd listened to it too much, and it just was like I'm sick of it. But the one thing Colin Cowherd said that is still true and will be true for the foreseeable future is that these companies are research companies. They're not. He said ESPN isn't a sports company. They're a research company. They research what you want, and then they give it to you. And that's how come they're so successful. They know what people are wanting to see. And then they give it to us, and then people bitch because it's overplayed. Well, no, it's overplayed because you don't turn it off. If you didn't watch it, they wouldn't put it on. It's that simple. They don't cancel TV shows after 2 episodes because there's 20 million people watching it. There's 2 million people watching it, and it's not worth it for them to keep putting the money out for 2 million people. If the NFL was getting 1 million people watching one game, the players would be getting paid like they did in the 80s. But there's millions and millions of people watching sports every night. That's what drives it. And I have no problem with that. I'm one of the guilty. I just want it to be where, just open it up. Just tell me one way or the other. Either let it go and don't keep drudging it up in the media that this is ongoing and we're trying to catch this guy and that guy cheating. Just forget about it. I don't even want to fucking hear about it. Because I'm just under the not the illusion, but I'm just going into every sporting event thinking that a majority of them are using something. And I'm fine with that. When I'm watching a great play on TV, I don't go, oh, I wonder if he's on steroids. And you might hear some quack say that, but they're just taking the counterpoint to try and make interesting radio or TV. If they didn't talk about this shit, they wouldn't have a job. So
no, absolutely. And you've identified a whole bunch of problems. I think, honestly, I kind of want to leave on the Coward quote. They're research companies. Like that's an amazing quote.
He get a stack. He said before they do their show in the morning, they get a stack of research from the research department to go over.
Yeah, hit those points. Those are what hits the trending Twitter feed or whatever the fuck they call it.
Whatever they use to judge their ratings, they know, they track it all. Okay, that's why if you listen to ESPN radio, like I used to listen to it from like 9:30 in the morning till like 5 at night. And it was 75, 80% football, even in the off season. Because that drove the ratings. College football in the NFL in the U.S. That's what drives the ratings on any sports station. So changed and started. They found out it was hockey that was trending that way. You'd see hockey on there 30% of the time. You know how much hockey gets covered in the U.S.? If you're lucky and your city has a team, they'll show their highlights.
Maybe at the end of the sports wrap.
It's
exactly. There'll be as much about a good high school basketball player who has a chance to go to Duke or something. You know.
Exactly. We got off on PEDs. We got off on a little tangent with the money and the sports, but it's all tied together.
It is, and I think you're right. I mean, we've known each other for a few years now, and you've made me understand you're right. Let's just open this shit up, and let's decide what is truly unacceptable behavior in terms of body augmentation. Let's have this fucking discussion, and I think it has to go bigger than sports.
They'll just keep putting
because right now we all know what it is. We can't deny it. No one ever looks at anyone and says, "Oh, in the NFL, in MLB, I mean, hockey and basketball like to pretend it's not happening. Fuck off. You fuckers are lying to me." We all know what's going on. So why don't we just open up and let's have an honest discussion about the intersection of technology, biotechnology, and the human body, you know?
But they don't want to.
But I think that's where we have to get.
But like the fallacy of that all these games are played under fair and even conditions, and what they want to say a true competition is bullshit. It hasn't been. It happened in the 1900s with the White Sox scandal. Or the Black Sox scandal, however you want to word it, when they were caught trying to throw World Series games. So from that point on, like before that, gambling in baseball, it was horrendous. If you read any of the books, like pre-1919, the mob was involved. They were throwing World Series games, playoff games, all that stuff. So from 1919 on, when those players got expelled, they have been so focused on convincing the public that all the games are on the up and up. It's fucking PR, dude. PR. And one side gets their hand on the other. And if you look at what people say about, how baseball's living in the past, they don't want replay and they're so technologically behind all the other leagues. MLB has HGH testing this year. How many other leagues have it? So let's talk about who's behind and what. What's important? You miss a home run or call it second, or some guy shooting a needle in his ass to gain an advantage. Just make the pick. I don't care. Like I said before, I don't care, but you got to pick one. What soapbox are you going to get on and make your speech about? And we know what it is. It's just money. That's the one soapbox they can all get on and stand together and wrap their arms around each other and fucking kumbaya. Fuck it. So, and admit that, or if the people are so fucking stupid and blind that they don't see that, then there's no fucking hope. We'll just keep getting this shit shoved down our throat and we'll have to take it. Because if you look at most of the population, they're fucking stupid. I hate to say
the always endearing Boyd.
Oh, but you and
hey.
It's
I lost you there for a second.
But you people like casual sports fans I'll talk to out at a pub or something, and most of them are just regurgitating something they fucking heard on SportsCenter the night before. They haven't got a fucking clue to make an opinion on their own. Well, if we want to keep just getting pablum fed to us, then we deserve what we get and how we're treated as sports fans. Then don't bitch. I don't want to hear guys bitch when there's a lockout in the NHL. I'm not watching that anymore. They're greedy. Well, you know what? Who gives a fuck? The money's there to be made, and they're making it. Top 1% always gets fucking paid, and that'll never change. Doesn't matter what profession. You could be the lowliest insurance salesman in your fucking company. It's going to be a guy at the top, and he's making fucking 20 times more than you. Is life fair? No. Fucking deal with it for once. It's just, Marlon, I'm getting so pissed off. You turn on the TV, you look at a website, it's all this fucking banter back and forth of one side trying to sway the public's opinion to their ideals or the other way. And it's sickening because it's just pandering, and people just keep putting up with it. And you got 6 talking heads on fucking TV yapping about it. Just tell me what happened on the field, the court, the ice, or the floor. And I'm good. Would I care if there was a story? Do I care that Daquan Bowers got caught with a gun? No. If he gets 2 sacks on Sunday and forces a fumble and they win the game, nobody gives a fuck. Leonard Little killed how many guys drunk driving? He's playing fucking defensive end for the Rams the next year. So don't try and tell me you have morality when you have none as long as a guy can play. In any sport, at any level, it doesn't matter. That's it. I'm done.
All right, that was an epic rant by Boyd. A good one. Enjoyed that. It was fun. But we should probably wrap it up for this week. I can't believe you're coming at me with a machete about the book next week. I can barely wait. Next week I'll be swinging back, though. Though, this week, honestly, I agree with... I'll call it 90 now. I bet on a relist, and I agree with virtually 100% of what you said there.
And
I'm just hedging my bets by calling it 90.
And I just hope it just makes them think what I said. Just think about, watch, and digest, and spend money on sports. And pick out what you do. And the rest of the stuff is just gobbledygook. It is. It's just fodder to get more clicks and web traffic is all it is, and keep the channel turned on. That's why every show is about screaming. Just scream at each other. People watch it. And then that'll fall out of favor. And then they'll find what else we're watching.
All right.
All right. So if you want the podcast and hear me scream, you can go to iTunes, just search Offensive Lines. You can listen to it on our website, offensivelines.ca. Follow us on Twitter at Offensive Line. The updates to the website or when new podcasts are released. Check us out on facebook.com/Offensive Lines. And if you want to email the show, it's offensivelines@shaw.ca. I'm Boyd.
I'm Marlon. I just want to add one final quote. Ginsburg titled Williams Burroughs' book Naked Lunch because he said it's the truth about what's at the end of every fork. I think that's what Boyd just gave us. I'm out.
Thanks, buddy.